Well, good day, everyone. Um, I thought that I'd change around the way that I do things. I've been experimenting with different editing, which I didn't think that I'd ever feel comfortable with, but I do now. And I thought that this was probably the best setting instead of just sitting in front of my computer and doing things that way, that I'd be a little more professional, and I'd use my iPhone 13 to start doing a little more of the stuff that I feel I'm good at and that I'm passionate about. And one of the things that I'm passionate about is looking at various tools that can help me be a better GM, be a better player, just be better at the hobby that I love. And this is a very sincere response and review of Solo Game Master's Guide by Geek Gamers. Now, this is published by Modifius. Geek Gamers continues to be anonymous, as it were. She has been absolutely instrumental in kind of changing my mindset from, and I hate to be so negative, but from a very D&D fifth mentality, from a very kind of corporate mentality. Buy every book that they put out because this is the Bible of role-playing. It's not. There are so many creative people out there, and not just streamers, but people who think about the hobby, have created not only OSR products to kind of buy into the 1974, 1980 vibe, but also to kind of go new and to push the boundaries. Things like Ironsworn and what Sean Tompkin is doing. The work that's being done out there is amazing. And Geek Gamers, in part, helped open up my mind with her YouTube channel about how to not only conceive of playing solo, but conceive of playing just with my wife and myself. And I dare say that this Solo Game Master's Guide is one of those seminal works that I hope doesn't go under the radar. It is not only well articulated and well thought out. She's obviously a student of literature, and I mean that not as kind of a student at university student, but a student as to someone who enjoys and digests and reads. It is my understanding that she is a teacher or a professor. I'm unsure. I will be reminded when we look at the back of the book. But I even think that the production value of her videos are absolutely insanely good. If you're watching this, I'm sure you've watched her, because if you are watching me, then you are interested in looking around at different sources, and not just the big boys and girls, but the ones who are compelling. As soon as I saw the crochet needle, which if you've seen her videos, you know what I'm talking about, and her hands, and that's all that you see, and the books laid out before her. Again, extremely articulate, and that comes through in the book. And right off the bat, I cannot speak highly enough about this book. It is a book that I've purchased. I have access to the PDF. I don't have a lot of books that I've purchased. If I look over, I've got Morkborg, and I've got the index card role-playing game. I've got Ironsworn. I've got everything Ironsworn. Nibiru. Stars Without Number. I'm hoping to buy Worlds Without Number soon enough. I'd love to get Yoon Sween, anyway, Uh, but it's not in print because Lulu doesn't do wide. So I've printed it out. It's actually sitting over there. And then, I've got Dune and Forbidden Lands, which I love, Coriolis, Vaesen. I love what Free League is publishing. So I don't have a lot of books. I have a lot of kind of little books, Perilous Lands, and some other things that I think Dungeon Crawl something or other, but not a lot. As soon as I heard on her channel that she was coming out with a book, I didn't even hesitate. I just got it. Now, I'm dyslexic. I may have mentioned that before. I do have a master's degree, but I find it a struggle to read, to be perfectly honest. When I look at most of these books and the books you see around me, many of them are theological books, and English literature books. That comes from an attempt at a degree a while ago. I did well. I was just dyslexic and didn't know it. But reading is not a forte. I have read this cover to cover. Literally, it's probably the first book that I've read in its entirety for quite a long time. I'll scan things, but I've actually read every word. And that is a testimony to how compelling she is and how easy she is to read. So if you do have kind of a learning disability, and dyslexia is, or you have ADHD, this is something that you can own, and it is compelling. So we're going to just delve in. I'm going to edit this, but I'm probably not a lot. And I'm not sure how. I know how to do OBS and put up a picture on the side, but I'm not sure if I know how to do that in editing in post. I'm using big words, aren't I? But anyway, I wanted to look through this, and I'm not just going to have it scroll along. I think that that's doing her a disservice. I'm gonna read you my comments instead of reading her stuff primarily. Now, the introduction, there are 3 parts to her work. There's the campaign level with the big picture. What is solo RPGing anyway? Think like a solo GM. Easy ways to be your own GM. Again, you may think that this only applies to solo. I venture to say that any GM, even with a group, can use this information to help you because it is so well written that it sparks your imagination as to how to apply these things to a group setting. Part 2 is at the table, rules, and how to use them. And this was probably the part that struck me the most. How to start your solo RPG session with no rule set. How to set up a solo session with a rule set. And her argument is the world is the character. The setting is your character. And you must think of that, not only, I think, not only as a soloist, but as someone who is a game master who is not simply rolling on tables for randomness, but someone who's applying intentionality to their worlds. And I firmly believe that the first way to start shouldn't be with character creation, as she says. That's her argument is, don't start with character creation. Start with the world. And don't get overwhelmed with the world. Start with specifics. We'll look at that. Amazing. And then a setup, a step-by-step setup of a solo session with a rule set. She gives many wonderful examples and how to read really big rule sets. I'm unsure if I recall right off the bat what she uses. She may use World Without Numbers. Not sure if she uses Cthulhu, but I think I've said it before that I get overwhelmed with big, massive rule sets. So if you've seen my sermon video that I did, I think probably last, you'll see me bring into my church in an actual talk of these big rules and saying, a dungeon Professor Dungeon Master has, gleaned these down to one page, and you can easily play the same game with one page of rules. And if you want, you can play the same game with, the 40 or 60 odd pages of the kind of essentials kit or the starter set of 5th edition, instead of just continuing to consume. I guess my purpose in this is, if you're going to buy a book like this that is going to help you minimize your purchases, save you money, save you time, save you from being overwhelmed, and encourage you to use that time in playing the game instead of using that time to build the game. That's basically what I'm saying to you, and I think that's what she's saying to us as well. Tools of the trade. This is where she gets into oracle dice and random tables. This is more for the soloist, but if you're not feeling as creative, this is a help. And these are two great kind of subdivisions within the chapter: developing your story and avoiding the yes, no dead end. And the yes, no kind of mythic process of solo gaming can stall you. And even the yes and the yes but, or the no and the no but, can stall you. And also I found using some of the, the Ironsworn action and theme tables can also stall you. And my hope is that I'm going to actually do some live plays where I'm just like this, sitting here. I'll probably put this table in front of me, and we'll just kind of, I'm just going to run with it. Instead of trying to be all fancy and do all these glitzy things, I'm just going to chat with you. So, developing your story and avoiding the yes, no dead end. And the other is, what's a narrative trajectory and why do I need one? We'll get there. In the epilogue, she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 appendices. And there's 10 mindsets of the solo GM, solo session checklists. This is almost a summation of what she's done. This happens around page 199. So you have 100 pages of content, and then you have about 50 pages of appendices that are extremely useful. So there's the 10 mindsets, there's solo session checklist, there's my solo RPG wallet revealed. If you've watched her show, she has a wallet, a literal wallet of little cards, kind of not index card size, but personal card size. I forget the name of the damn thing. You know how my brain works. So anyway, she reveals her wallet, character attitudes, tables of connections and disconnection, quick tables for starting with no rules, mechanical adjustments for stats, very important, literary random table. This takes up actually a fair bit of space, takes up about 20 pages, and she gives literary random examples. She has a tendency of just going and doing this. So I'll get this. It's a book that I had in the 90s. There's Aeschylus, Sophocles, Johnson, Molière, Racine, Sheridan, Ibsen, Wilde, Miller, Beckett, Pinter. It's a good book. It's so good that I've kept it. So you go to a random page and I can't see. Let's have a little light, please. Yes, sir. Yes, at once. Light comes down on stage. Come along, come along. Second act of mixing it up. Leo Gala's house, a curious room serving as a dining room and study. fix up the old red room. And so then what you do is you'd use that content. What's the red room about? Why is there this haste? Come along, come along. What is that motivating factor? Who is this person? Mixing it up. Now this is from Pirandello, and the characters of the comedy in the making are the father, the mother, the stepdaughter, the son, and this is the manager and the property manager talking about this. The comedy is without acts or scenes. The performance is interrupted once without the curtain being lowered when the manager and the chief characters withdraw to arrange the scenario. So it's one of these very kind of modern dramas, but you can kind of start with even just what's Leo Galla's house? What's this curious room? Why do they need to fix up the old red room? And so you gotta squeeze this in between Byron and Tennyson. Hold on. Is it Tennyson? No, it's Victorian poetry. There we go. That's Tennyson. All right, so she'd be happy if she's watching. I've got to avoid putting my feet up. It doesn't look good on TV. All right, so just so many good things. Her inspirational reading is amazing. Recommended rule sets for the soloist and essential random tables. So she covers a wide range of stuff. Now, I've kind of highlighted various parts, and that's primarily what I'm going to look at. In her videos, she says she tends towards using a fairly limited number of randomizers. She likes to use her imagination, and as an only child, I'm an only child, using my mind to create other worlds is important to her. Often those places had magic. They were always escapes. Maybe there's something about being an only child where you just love escape. A lot of my personal time was spent alone. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was kind of your geek's geek back in the 70s and 80s. And a lot of my time was really spent with imagination. I said to my wife yesterday, we were sitting here, this is her chair, I was sitting over there, and we were chatting about this, and I said, if I could go back and I could do anything differently and I wasn't to be a priest, I'd be a game designer. And I always was doing this. I was doing it since I was like 14. I remember getting a 4-foot by 8-foot wood plank that my father bought me. I don't know how the heck he transported it, and I don't know how he even agreed to getting it. I think he strapped it onto the roof of the car. And I painted the whole darn thing with an image of the World Book map of the world